Right friends, in this video, I'm going to show you the exact framework that I've come up with to help ADHD entrepreneurs thrive and use ADHD as a superpower instead of being fully hindered by all of the negatives that can come with having ADHD and having lived with it for a long time. But first, tell me if any of this sounds familiar. You know you are capable of more. You overthink decisions you already know the answers to. Maybe you're like me and you lie awake at night overthinking all the things you could have done during the day or all of the things that you feel you want to do the following day. You start strong and then lose momentum. You have massive peaks in interest and you're like, yes, this is the new thing. I'm going to make this work. You realize how hard it's going to be or how you're not making the progress you thought you would, so you give up. You feel guilt for not doing enough. You feel shame for the wasted potential that you have, and you watch others make massive moves, even people within the ADHD community, and you still feel stuck. And all of this is compounded in one sentence. You feel like your mind is working against you. Now, let's be honest. You have probably at some point in your life been told that this is laziness. You've probably been told that you have a lack of discipline and that you just need to try harder. If you feel like your mind is working against you, how are you supposed to force that rebellious mind into these ways of thinking that weren't yours to start with? Now, how do I know all this? I've just got my clinical diagnosis for ADHD, but I was actually diagnosed in the early 90s by the ADHD support group in the UK. However, that has not stopped ADHD from getting in the way of me fulfilling my potential, following my purpose instead of just listening to people saying to go down the default path. I did that. I went to school. I got jobs. I got my degree. And none of it ever felt like me. What I want to do is to help people in my position to actually thrive, to feel like I'm chasing fulfillment rather than chasing a paycheck to be able to pay bills at the end of the month. I went into entrepreneurship because I can't follow or accept authority in any way to the point where I was ever going to be able to climb the ladder. I went into business thinking it would be easy. You probably did too. And realistically, we've done the scary part. You have jumped into entrepreneurship, and most people won't do that in their lifetime because they're already too scared. But as you probably found out, despite having made this monumental and admirable move, that a lot more comes along with being an entrepreneur than just being able to do business. Like I said before, you're probably feeling self-doubt. You're overthinking the business ideas that you have, the ways that you can grow personally and in business. So personally, I got to a point where I actually had some success. I had a marketing agency. We had one client that was paying $12,300 a month, and they were on a 6-month contract, and it was excellent. But it was empty work. I didn't feel fulfilled by it. And actually, at the moment when I was making the most money, I was also drinking the most alcohol. I was using alcohol to self-medicate the internal pain that I felt from not controlling my ADHD. And that was 4 years ago that I gave up. I went sober on January the 1st of 2022. And since then, I've been on hell of a journey. Like, you cannot go sober without having to face the demons that you were running from by drinking anyway. I want to provide you with the framework that's taken 4 years in the making, so you can go and either take this away or potentially work with me for 12 weeks and squash that amount of time. With all that said, let me introduce to you the RAD framework. As you've seen, my initials spell RAD, but it also stands for release, align, and design. Now, the first step is to release. We have to get rid of so many different things. I know I did. If you're carrying ambitions that weren't your own, that were put onto you by parents or teachers, if you're carrying around guilt that is out of date and has expired for things that you did years ago, that your mind just happens to remind you of to make sure you are humbled and you keep your self-worth low, and then also releasing the expectations that you have of yourself. Something I've noticed in myself and other ADHD people I've worked with is that we hold ourselves to ridiculously high standards to the point that we're never going to hit them. This is where ADHD perfectionism comes in. You're never going to be perfect. So we have to release the expectation that we ever will be. I say all of this to drive home one main point, and that is that we need to release all these things so we can balance the mind. The second part of this process is align. And in this part, we have to actually start thinking about who we want to be. What values are we going to live by? What are our standards? And if you don't know the difference between those two things, values are what you live up to. Standards are the things you fall back on. My best example of that is my values and standards for going to the gym. I aspire to go 5 days a week. My standard is that I go 3 days a week. Often it averages out at about 4 times a week. How are you going to operate in such a way that you are being true to yourself? How are you operating in your business that you're being true to yourself and you're having the impact that you want to have in the world? Also in this section, we have to learn to start trusting ourselves. The ironic thing is that a lot of people need permission to live permissionlessly. There's a little bit of a paradox and irony to that. If you need it right now, I give you permission to live without permission anymore. So we have to align ourselves with who we want to be, the impact we want to have in the world, and how we're going to use our business as a vessel to do that. And a large part of that alignment comes from building clarity that feels calm and not heavy, not forced. We don't want to carry on living in such a way that it feels like we're wading through mud. I know for the majority of my life, up until the last few years, it has always felt like that. Like alignment is when decisions and just living feels a lot lighter. So the next part of this framework is design. Once we know how we want to be, we need to logistically put that into practice. We have to design our lives and business around who it is we want to be and the impact that we want to have. In the design phase, we have to actually decide how things are going to work, how we are going to use our focus. The problem then is how are we going to use it intentionally? And then the key point of this design phase is that we're always coming from a place of vision rather than obligation. Like I said before, paying bills at the end of the month isn't interesting. When we have vision as opposed to obligation, we're going to be excited about what we're doing. We're going to want to be involved in whatever it is that you have going on. Obligation, on the other hand, is only ever going to feel heavy. I spent so many years of my life living in nothing but obligation instead of taking control, taking responsibility for my mental health, my happiness, my internal state. And when you have vision, you can align all of those internal things with what you're doing externally and just feel better. So the important thing with the design phase is that your life supports how your mind works and your internal wiring instead of always fighting against it. You have 4 realistic choices right now. You can do absolutely nothing. Your second choice is to just try and figure this all out yourself. However, like I said, it took me 4 years plus to even come to this framework. It could take you that long as well. The third choice is that you know you need change, but you're not ready to take responsibility and you just want to put your life and how things work in the hands of somebody else. What I mean by that is that you can go the medication and therapy route and deal with people who want to help, but probably haven't dealt with ADHD themselves. However, I would hope that you've got this far in this video from being somebody who doesn't just want to cope. You are somebody that wants to go through all of this and make it happen as soon as possible. If that is the case, I would like to invite you to join my program, ADHD Elite. It's a 12-week program where we are going to go through the RAD framework. And the reason this works is that it's not like therapy or medication. we're actually going to do deep identity work. That's what this framework is. It is a framework to allow you to change who you are to be the person that you need to be if you want to achieve the things you say you want in life. If that's the kind of work you want to do, if you are ready to become something different to what you are now, if you're ready to get rid of all the baggage that is holding you down, all you need to do is go over to my Instagram and message me 21, and I'll get all the details of how we can start working together over to you. It is one-on-one. You get direct access to me. The spots are incredibly limited. If you are the kind of person that does want to do this framework with somebody who's already gone through it, I'm here for you. Go to my Instagram, message me 21, and we'll get started. But other than that, I hope this framework has helped. I hope you understand these concepts and that whether you work with me or not, it does help you moving forward. Until next time, thank you for listening. Thank you for your time. I'll speak to you again soon. Peace.